screen again. Okay, so as I said a while ago, so the focus of our discussion is about Rizal's annotation and successes de las Islas Filipinas, no? Yan, I think nakikita nyo na siguro sa screen niyo, no? So for this topic, as I said in our previous discussion during our first meeting, that Rizal accomplished not only 2 books but 3, and this is include and the third book it's referring to Sucesos de las Filipinas, or what we call History in the Islands of the Philippines, and wherein the original author was written by what we called um, became a governor general also in, but not in the Philippines, si what we call Dr. Antonio de Morga. Okay? So yan si Morga, no? Yung parang, and kung nakikita yung picture na yan, I think this one is familiar, ne? If you go in San Agustin Church, nandun sila, yung mga painting na yan. Most of the governor general and those who are high position in the Philippines during the Spanish colonization, no? Kaya na ngayon di na tayo makapag-field trip or tour. Kalaban mo, hindi lang pandemya, kundi pati traffic, no? Nung wala pang ano. Okay. So what will be our agenda for this, no? Of course, so let me introduce the Successos de las Filipinas event in the Philippine Islands, or the history, no? Or the events, no? So Successos de las Filipinas, or event in the Philippine Isles or island, was a historical account which described the scenarios in the Philippines from 1493 to 1603 under the colonial rule of Spain. Bali si ano kasi inutusan na magsulat kung anong nangyari sa Pilipinas from 1493 to 1603. So imagine, no, malalaman natin ngayon kung anong nangyari before the pre-colonial, no? So bali ano yan, pre-colonial to colonialism, no? Or to colonial rule of Spain. Kasi 1493, wala pa yung Spaniards sa Pilipinas. They are only been here, si Magellan, noong 1521. And I think hindi rin naging successful si Magellan kasi upon reaching Cebu, no? Or Mactan, they were defeated by what we called si Lapu-Lapu, no? Kaya walang mga... So after Magellan, may nag-explore ulit. And later, we'll discover sino ba talaga yung naging successful as regard to the colonization of the Philippines. And malalaman natin dito also bakit naging Pilipinas yung bansa natin, no? So Dr. Antonio de Morga, the principal author of Sucesos de las Filipinas, published his work in 1609. That was in Mexico or Mexico, no? So parang background na natin to. So siya yung principal author. Inutusan siya ng it's not the king of Spain, but rather the parang kamay ng hari ng Espanya, no? So probably this work perhaps was the best account of the Spanish colonialism in the Philippines, and it was merely based partly on documentary research. So probably kahit nung unang panahon may research na, no, based on documentary research. So that means referring to the document. So as early as 1493, people, no, or what we call human being already knew how to document, no? Marunong sila mag-document, or nakakapaganon sila, nakakapagsulat, no? Okay, so document partly on the keen observation, and that's referring to the observation of Dr. Morga, no? And partly on Morga's personal involvement and knowledge. Kasi nung 1600s, no, or 16 something, nandito na rin si Dr. Antonio de Morga sa Pilipinas mismo. Of course, he was not assigned as Governor General, but he was assigned as something to do with what we called with the court, no? Parang lawyer, ganun siya. Okay, continue. Moving on. So the book was published in 2 volumes, both in 1609. No? So may 2 volumes siya, no? And na-publish siya sa Casa de Jeronimo Bali in Mexico City, no? In Mexico City. Doon siya pinablish. And of course, that time, no, bago siya ma-publish, kailangan may approval muna ng church. Yung tinatawag natin imprimatur, no? In 1609, April 17, as I mentioned, yung Viceroy or the Kanang Kamay, no, Luis de Velasco authorized the publication and granted Morga the sole right to publish it for 10 years. So binigyan lang ng 10 years na for the publication, no? And do you think ano kaya ang dahilan bakit inano nila nito? Is this for siyempre you are into education, no? So is this for knowledge, for education? But for the perspective of those who are into business, like ba, mga accountancy, and is has something to do with marketing, parang ganun, or business related ba siya? Bakit kailangan i-publish ng ganung karami or for 10 years, no? Yung successes, the less the speak. Of course, partly kasama yon, no? Hindi naman natin naiiwasan. Hindi lang to for documentation or for the sake of knowledge or education. Okay? 1609, Fray Garcia Guerrera, the Archbishop of Mexico, approved the publication of the work. I think sinasabi ko kanina, no, approval of the church, yung imprimatur, makikita nito na kaya nihil obstat. Pag sinabi natin nihil obstat from the Latin, nothing follow, no. Yung imprimatur, it is something that can be approved, no. It's also a Latin, no. Moving on. So what we will do for today, we will sum up, no, or a summary of everything, no. So probably kung babasahin mo to, of course meron akong link na binigay, no, courtesy of, or makikita ninyo na ano yan, yung Project Gutenberg, no. And Project Gutenberg, it's from Germany. Inaano nila, no, ginagawa nilang PDF or electronic, all materials, no. Yung kay Rizal, halos makikita mo doon sa Project Gutenberg, no. And same thing with this one, Sucesos de Islas Filipinas, meron, no. Okay, so for the chapter summary, no, titignan natin lahat, no. So from 1493 to 1603, so from pre-colonial Philippines to colonialism. So ito yung makikita natin sa Sucesos de Islas Filipinas, no. The events or the events or something scenarios happen during the pre-colonial Philippines and the colonial Philippines. Of course, when we refer to the pre-colonial Philippines, wala pang pangalan yung Philippines that time, no? So I think historian, as of now, yun ang mga parang challenge, no? Ano bang pangalan ng Pilipinas bago naging Pilipinas, no? So the first volume is consisting of 7 chapters. Yun ang mga isa-sum up natin, yung 7 chapters. These deal with the discoveries, conquests, and other events until the death of Don Pedro de Acuna. So from 1493 to 1603, the last Governor General na describe or na document ni Dr. Antonio de Morga is Don Pedro de Acuna. So that is the last Governor General from 1492, in 1603. Okay. So to continue, the first 7 chapters underscore the accomplishment of the different Governor General assigned in the Philippines. Actually, ako yung nagano yan, no? Yan ang pinokus ko, tinignan, yung accomplishment. Kasi, di ba, in our discussion, like maybe I always mention, no, even in the past, bakit after 300 years, dun pa lang nagkaroon ng what we call revolution or pag-aaklas, no? How come after not 50 years, not 60 years, 100 years or something? Kasi other countries kasi they are only they were only colonized for 50, 60 years, but not 300 years, no? But of course, other are also for 300 years. Okay? And of course, the last chapter, yung chapter 8, contain a brief summary and account of the nature of this region, no? Their inhabitants, the manner of governing and converting them, and other details. And yung chapter 8, I myself, no, gumawa ko ng parang mga teams to analyze the annotation of Rizal. Nag-base na ako sa what Rizal annotated, no, sa chapter 8. Okay, to continue. And I hope, no, everyone can follow, no. So Filipino major, I apologize if we use English language, no. But sometimes naman nagtatagalog, no. Okay, but I am proud of the Filipino major for them that they ask me if they can express in Filipino. That's okay. So again, we are in the chapter summary. So this is a study, no, and probably this is the version of Blair and Robertson, no. So as mentioned by Blair and Robertson, 1907, ito yung time na they annotate also, no. Yes, they annotate also the work of Dr. De Antonio Morga. Sabi nila, Morga's book is written in the true historic spirit, which has special value or values. Its various threads of the history of the islands are followed systematically. So they were impressed, no, in their examination and analysis in annotating the work of Morga. These include political, social, economic phases of life. Morga's successes, the Islas Filipinas, vividly portrayed, no? Ito yung mga nakita ni Blair and Robertson in their when they annotate the work of Dr. Antonio de Morga, the native and their conquerors, yan mga emphasis nila, no? The futility of the Spanish policy in making external expedition futile, no? Yung medyo may something na pwede natin sabihin lax or something na hindi masyadong na-emphasize or nakita, no? Of course, the conquest neglect of internal affairs, no? Yung parang may na-neglect, particularly in the internal affairs. The Great Chinese questions, okay? So parang nagkaka-idea na, no? Kung ano na, what is Philippines during that time. The growth of trade. Of course, communication with the Japanese or Japan. So as you can see, as early as 1600, there is already what we call communication with the Japanese and Chinese, no? And then missionary movement from the island to surrounding countries. Yan ang mga nakita ni Blair and Robertson. So probably this is the summary of Success de las Filipinas. So, and then the jealous and envious opposition, the Portuguese, meron din, no, yung attempt ng Portuguese to conquer or what we call to colonize Philippines. Kaya lang that time the Philippines is under the colonial rule of Spain. Kaya yung mga Portuguese hindi na maka-attempt. But prior to that, no, Portuguese and Spain, they are what we call they connive or what we call they are partnered. Pero then later on, parang nagkaroon ng alitan. And another emphasis na linagay nila Blair and Robertson in their annotation, the danger of sea voyages. No? So what does it mean? Yes, hindi sila namatay sa digmaan or rather sa pagpunta sa Pilipinas, pero there are tendency nung pagbalik nila sa Spain, they were accidentally caught by storm o kaya the rock waves of the sea, so na-wreck yung mga ship nila, so dun sila nag-suffer or namatay. At maraming cases na maganon, no? Yung danger of sea voyages kasi hindi pa ganun ka stable or ka endurance, no, or matibay yung mga ship that time, no? Okay? So to continue, moving on. So we are still in the chapter summary. So this one is for chapter 1, no? So kung nakikita yung picture sa taas, no? Are you familiar with that? Pacto de sangre. Pag sinabi natin pacto de sangre, that is referring to blood compact, no? So probably the one who became successful as regard to Pacto de Sangre, I see Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. At yung nasa ibabang larawan, nakikita yung picture sa ibaba, so that is the tomb, no? Tama ba? Tomb bleedingan, tama, no? Na nandyan yan mismo sa San Agustin, no? San Agustin Church sa Manila, malapit sa Intramuros, at malapit sa Manila Cathedral, no? Nandyan yung San Agustin Church. So kung makakapasyal tayo doon, no, late in the time na, di ba, naging okay na, nag-work na kayo, then nakagawin kayo sa Manila, punta kayo ng San Agustin Church, doon makikita nyo, no, those are, somehow nandun sila, magandang nandun sila. Bakit? Because they are the evidences that what's written in the book are factual, no? Hindi sila katangisip lang na halimbawa, itong tomb na to na nakikita natin, nagpapatunay yan na talagang merong Miguel Lopez de Legazpi na pumunta sa Pilipinas at siya yung parang naging dahilan bakit naging Pilipinas yung bansa natin. Okay? So chapter 1, what can we find in the chapter 1 of Sucesos de las Filipinas? Una, So the first chapter of Morga Success de las Islas Filipinas described the rich and precious islands found in the part of the world called Asia. So before it became Philippines, wala siya talagang pangalan, no? Bago siya naging Pilipinas. So yun nga, dinidescribe ni Morga yung mga mayamang ano natin, no? Let's say, of course, referring to the resources, no? Okay, sorry for that. Among the most famous of them are the island of Maluco, saan yan, no? Celebes, Tendanya, Luzon, Mindanao, Borneo, which are now called Filipinas. So kung mapapansin niyo this island, no, nasama pa yung Borneo. And Borneo, somehow, kung tutignan natin yung historical ano natin, part siya ng Pilipinas. Di ba kung, I don't know if you are aware already, may incident during the time of Pinoy, no, nung presidente si Pinoy, kilala niyo si Pinoy, no, si Benigno Aquino Jr., when he's the president, merong isang ano, no, parang merong can be considered as part of our history from the part of Sulu. May nag-claim that Borneo is it's owned by the what we call Datu. Kaya may nangyaring ano doon kaguluhan. Kaya lang hindi naging successful ang mga yon, no. So probably baka ito yung reference nila, no, or maybe totoo naman talaga na baka Pilipino nga yung Datu ng Borneo dati, no. Okay. So the chapter or this chapter likewise describes the defeat of Fernando Magallanes, yun yung nailagay din dito, no, ilathala din dito kung paano na natalo si Fernando Magallanes, that is the real name of Ferdinand Magellan, kasi Ferdinand Magellan is the English term for Fernando Magallanes, ne? And successful pacification of Adelantado Miguel de Legazpi from the island of Cebu to Luzones, no? So yun, so adelantado, it means yung pag sinabi natin adelantado, it's a Spanish for advanced, no? Kasi si Miguel de Legazpi, linagyan siya talaga ng pangalan na adelantado. It's advanced, no? Kasi yung kanyang ways, napakaganda, no? Hindi na, yung kanyang paraan to pacify or to colonize the Philippines, hindi siya napigilan niya yung ano pagkakaroon ng digmaan or what we call anong tawag dito, yung force, no, yung persahang pakikipaglaban para ma-occupy yung isang place. So chapter 1, this chapter also underscore how Fray Andres de Urdaneta ordered Sipagas and spread Catholicism in the island of Cebu and Luzon. So kung titignan natin, no, siya yung parang we can give the credit, no, kay Fray de Andres Urdaneta. Kaya siguro yung Pangasinan meron siyang city na ba yung Urdaneta? Yes. So maybe that is named after him, no, kay Fray Andres de Urdaneta, though I did not yet verify that kind of my opinion na name after him. So hindi pa na verify yon, no. Pero yun nga, no, the Catholic Church, kung Katoliko ka ngayon, no, if you are Catholic, no, they are looking forward, no, for the 500 years of Catholicism in our country. So kumbaga may maganda naman nangyari, no, 500 years. Kung titingnan natin, the Catholic somehow, no, yung Katoliko sa Pilipinas o yung pagiging Katoliko sa Pilipinas is already 500 years. Ganun nakatanda, no? Kaya kung tino-question about their faith, siyempre meron pa ring malpractice, meron pa ring something kapuna-puna na tradition, no? But we cannot avoid that. Pero somehow those who are Catholic na they understand their faith, siyempre hindi sila apektado as regard to that, no? To continue, so remember, no? So teamwork sa chapter 1, it's something to do with Miguel de Legazpi and Fray Andres de Urdaneta, no? So still in chapter 1, no? Yan, no? Nakita ko yan sa internet, yung picture na yan. And I think this is one of the oldest churches in the Philippines. Pwede kong sabihin na ito yung pinakamatandang simbahan, no? Saan ba yan? It is found in Cebu, no? Kasi mas Si Ferdinand Magellan or Fernando Magallanes hindi naging successful, di ba? Kasi na-defeat siya ni Lapu-Lapu. It was only in the time of what we call Adelantado, Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, naging successful yung Catholicism, yung pag-spread ng Catholicism, at the same time yung pag-conquer or pag-pacify sa mga different islands in the Philippines. In 1564, this is the time wherein Miguel Lopez de Legazpi and Fray Andres de Urdaneta left Puerto de Natividad going to the island of Lucenos to Cebu. No? So, 1564. So, kumbaga, pupunta sila ng Pilipinas. No? They left Puerto de la Natividad, galing sila doon. Then, pupunta sila ng Luzon to Cebu. Pero, mas nakarating sila sa Cebu. Now, their arrival, no? Siyempre, may matatapang na ring mga datu that time. Chief Tupas or Datu Tupas of Cebu attempt to resist Legazpi together with its troops. Kaya may yung ibang lugar sa Pilipinas talaga hindi na-conquer or na-colonize, no? Hindi totally na-colonize because of this datu or mga chieftain, no? Or chief like Chief Tupas, no? Chief Tupas. Kaya yung Cebu, hindi lahat ng part ng Cebu ay na-pacify, no? Or what I mean, na-conquered siya or naging na-colonize siya. Kasi nandiyan si Chief Tupas na dinedefend niya yung ano niya. Pero of course, how about this attempt? Naging natuloy ba? Hindi natuloy yan. Gaya ng picture na pinakita ko kanina, dinaan yan sa blood compact or yung Pacto de Sangre. Kasi Pacto de Sangre, during the Spanish time, parang practice siya. Practice of what we call parang agreement or friendship. No? Kaya yun ang ginawa ni Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. At of course, kung titignan natin, sino bang, aside kay Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, sino pang nag-blood compact? Of course, si Andres Bonifacio, di ba? Ginaya lang yon. Pero the original, if we will look on our history, the first blood compact that happened, it's between Miguel Lopez de Legazpi and the chief or datu, si Katuna. No? Kilala niyo si Katuna. Of course, ang ganda namang pangalan, no? Lapu-Lapu, o yun, si Katuna, parang isda, no? Joke lang yun, okay? So, as I mentioned, so when Miguel Lopez de Legazpi and Fray Andres went in Cebu, no, nang nakarating na sila sa Cebu, they were able to build, no, what we call yung church or simbahan. Ito yon, yung Ciudad de Santísimo Nombre de Jesus, or in English, City of the Sacred Name of Jesus. No? Ciudad de Santísimo Nombre de Jesus, or City of the Sacred Name of Jesus. At yan, no, yung nasa picture natin, can be considered as the oldest church. No? Of course, the first mass, kung marami na rin history, no, pinagdidibatahan na saan ba yung unang misa? Sa Cebu ba o sa Limasawa? Parang ganun, no? Of course, historian corrected that, no, na ang unang misa talaga ay it was in Limasawa. Of course, it's not the time of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. That's the time of Ferdinand Magellan. And I think yun ang account ng ng Catholic Church as regard to the first mass or the founding of Catholicism in the Philippines, no? 500 years. And we are looking forward this year, no? Miguel Lopez de Legazpi named all the island Filipinas in honor of His Majesty King Filipo or Philip. So probably, pwede rin natin sabihin na sinong nagpangalan na Pilipinas, yung credit kay Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Even though Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, it's not the first person or first Spaniard who set foot in the Philippines. Of course, hindi sila yung unang-unang nakadiscover, no? Tapos sa history natin, who discovered the Philippines? Nung bata tayo, yes, Magellan. Of course, we cannot say that Magellan is the first one who discovered the Philippines. Prior to Magellan, there are already settlers, no, or people settled or live in the Philippines, no? Kaya lang hindi Pilipinas. Ngayon, who discovered the Philippines? Of course, it's not Magellan. If we will base the one who named it Philippines, we are referring to Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. No, marami tayong no, in our history there are things that we need to correct, no. Kasi yung sa DepEd kasi minsan may mga talagang maling account, no, or yung sinusulat hindi siya based on research. Kumbaga parang naman natin saan nila kinuha, no. But not all naman, no. Of course, I don't want to discredit, no, yung pero may mga cases. Halimbawa nga ako, lumaki ako na or rather, no, of course, na-correct na yon. Nung bata ako, alam ko sino nakadiscover sa Pilipinas. Si Magellan, parang ganon, di ba? Okay. Pero of course, it's not Magellan, no? Okay, so we are still on the chapter summary, still in chapter 1, no? So this is some of the events, no, or scenarios that happened during the pre-colonial Philippines, no, not the pre-colonial, no. In 1571, May 19 to be exact, no, Martin de Goiti pacified the island of Luzon. No, bali si Goiti, no, Martin de Goiti, I think it's sa history natin isa sa mga kinikilalang known kasama ni Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. So he was able to pacify the island of Luzon. No, that time the chieftain or called Raha, I do not as regard to other they are called Batu or Raha, no. So the time the Raha of Manila, we have Raha Mora, no. Mora siya, hindi siya mahal, no, si Raha Mora. And in Tondo, we have Raha Matanda, hindi naman siya bata, okay? Now, if we will relate that, no, joke lang yun, okay? Now, if we will relate that in our discussion, di ba, dati, as I mentioned, hindi Spanish yung mga pangalan natin. Tingnan natin dito kasi I think wala pang nangyari dito na or a decree na all the surname or names in the Philippines will be changed into Spanish surname. Tingnan natin, Raha Mora. Hindi siya Spanish. Though Mora, it can be a Spanish word, no? And then in Tondo, si Raha, matanda. And matanda, it's very Filipino, di ba? Okay? So just want to clarify, no? 1574, after 10 years of pacification, no, so and subjugation, so dito na namatay, no, Adelantado or the advanced Miguel Lopez de Legazpi died and buried its body in the monastery of Saint Augustine. So ang tagal ni Legazpi dito, no, umabot siya ng 10 years at namatay siya hindi sa digmaan na he died because of diseases, no, and somehow napaka yung pagkamatay niya, no, somehow wala silang nakitang something negative during its time, no? Kaya nga nandun siya sa St. Augustine Church, yung pinakita ko kanina, no? And of course, even you are not a historian, I think you will become interested, no? Kasi parang for yourself as an educator, you want to prove, totoo nga pala na may Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Si Magellan ba nandun? Hindi. Hindi nila alam kung saan napunta yung body ni Magellan kasi nga they were not able to retrieve it during the Battle of Mactan, no? In 1574, Guido de Labazaris, no, by virtue of dispatch, he took the office and continued the conversation and pacification. So after the time of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, so may pumalit sa kanya si Guido de Labazaris, no. So take note, wala pang surname that time. Pag sinabi natin Martin de Goiti, ibig sabihin Martin of Goiti. Goiti, maybe this is our place, no? Probably this is our place in Spain. So kung saan sila nanggaling, yun ang dinalagay nila sa name nila. Si Guido de Labazaris is also a place, no? So yan naman pumalit kay Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Okay. So kaya yung picture na to, no, painting to, no, na nakita ko sa internet. So this is referring kay Limahon or Limahong, no? Limahong from China attacked Manila and Martin de Goiti. So during the time, may mga resistance na, no? What I mean, may mga nangyayari na ring digmaan pero hindi revolusyon, no? Hindi katulad nung nangyari kay Andres Bonifacio, no? Or the other, of course, yung kay Andres Bonifacio talaga, yun ang pinakinikilalang revolution or pag-aaklas, no? So during the 15th century, in the 1500s, no. So as early 1574, meron na ring mga some attack or something na mga pag-aaklas or something na hindi man pag-aaklas, some nag-aagawan ng power, no. yun nga, no, si Limahong from China, he defeated, no, Martin de Goiti. So na ano nila, na-occupy nila yung Manila, no? Sila yung namuno, si Limahong, and he's a Chinese, no? So kung nakita niyo yung picture yan, pinapakita, they sensationalized how Limahong defeated Martin de Goiti. Chinese, take note. Now, Joan de Salcedo, captain from Bigan, brought reinforcement in Manila. So siyempre, di naman nahayaan ng mga Spaniard na tuluyang ma-conquered or ma-occupy yung Manila. So that's why the other captain of what we call the Spain, they somehow reinforced to defeat Limahong. No? Even Martin de Goiti was defeated. No? So that is in chapter 1. No? Chapter 2, so probably this is the time of Dr. Francisco de Sante. Okay, kung ito yung basis natin, no, if this will be our basis, so the first governor general or the first governor appointed, no, in the Philippines was Dr. Francisco de Sande. Okay, take note, hindi siya doctor, no? Dr. Francisco de Sande, yung doctor, it's a name, no? Oo. So, hindi yan, that it finished medicine, hindi. But that is the part of its name, Dr. Francisco de Sande, no? So, if this will be our account, no? Kung, nag-ano ka sa history, or rather, you are asking which the first governor in the Philippines, so probably we can say it was Dr. Francisco de Sande. Kasi si Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, hindi naman siya na-appoint as governor. No? Wala pang form of governorship during its time. Kasi bago pa lang yung pagko-conquest o yung colonization. No? Pero siya yung nagsimula. Of course, like what happened, no? Kagaya ng ginagawa ni Legazpi, the submission and pacification of the islands continued. No? So yung kay Dr. Francisco de Sande o kay Sande, yung kanyang yung province of Camarines, no, inassign niya si Kapitan Pedro Chavez, and the island of Olo, so probably Holosulu, no, Kapitan Esteban Rodriguez de Figueroa. So as you can see, all over the Philippines, may mga captain or kapitan, no, na pinapadala yung governor. Kasi the highest position during the Spanish time is the governor, no, hanggang time ni Rizal, di ba? Okay. So to continue, so also what happened in chapter 2 of the Sucesos de Islas Filipinas, the ship San Juanilo under the command of Captain Juan de Rivera lost at the sea. So this is one of the evidence, no, one of the evidences, na the danger of sea voyage, no, o yung paglalakbay. Marami talagang nawawala na lang kung hindi man na-wreck dahil sa bagyo, pwedeng siya ng mga pirata, no, or maybe yung territorial na what do you call this one, they were conquered or something, they were defeated, no, kaya marami yung mga nawawala, no, and one of these yung ship San Juanilo, no. So bali nawala si Kapitan Juan de Rivera. Kung gagawa ka ng ng about history, halimbawa those who have been lost, no, during the pre-colonial or during the early colonialism, no. Then after the governorship led by Dr. Francis de Sande, si Don Gonzalo Ronquillo de Peñalosa replaced Dr. Sande as governor and captain general of the island, no. So pinalitan siya, no. So yung second governor is Don Gonzalo Ronquillo de Peñalosa. Okay? So to continue. So now from chapter 2, we're now moving on chapter 3. So as you can see, yung mga binibigay ko ngayon ng mga yan, no, those are just part, no, very very brief lang mga yon na event, no, kasi kung titignan mo, ang dami talagang pwedeng ilagay or sabihin kung anong nangyari sa chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter something, no. So somehow inano ko lang yung something na very remarkable, no, pero may mga nangyayari pa. Okay, now as regard to chapter 3, So 1580, during the time of Don Gonzalo Ronquillo de Peñalosa, so a native of Arevalo and chief alguacil of the Audiencia of Mexico, appointed governor of the Filipinas for life. No? Okay. Take note, si Don Gonzalo Ronquillo de Peñalosa, in-appoint siya for life. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya mapapalitan hanggang mamatay siya. So kung 20 years, 20 years, no? Okay. So this somehow something to do with the political system, no? Wherein some of this political system na meron yung mga Spaniard were adapted in our time, no? So parang pinapractice natin ngayon ng mga yan, no? Diba, during the time of Marcos, sumabot sa how many years? Di ba, na-amend lang yung Philippine Constitution noong 1987 and then that was the time yung presidency naging 1 year na lang. Before kasi unlimited siya, no? Or maybe 3 terms, parang sa mayor. Then Don Fray Domingo de Salazar of Dominican Order was appointed as the first bishop of the Philippines. Or of course, nakanusulat dito the Philippines, not Filipinas, because that is the real name of our country. Hindi naman sa Philippines talaga, it's Filipinas. And naging Philippines yan, siyempre, during the American time, no? During American regime. And erected this cathedral in the city of Manila. So, kung titignan natin, the founding year of Manila Cathedral was in 1580, no? Siyempre, yung nung 1518 yon, nagkaroon na rin ng bishop. That means, bakit meron ng bishop? Ibig sabihin nun, all over the Philippines or all over the island in the Philippines, there are already churches being built or established. Kaya meron ng bishop, no? Okay, now, again, take note. So, if we will rely on this book or Annotation of Rizal, Sucesos de Islas Filipinas, or the original work of Dr. Antonio de Morga, we can say that the first bishop in the Philippines was Don Fray Domingo de Salazar. No? What about si Fray Urdaneta? Of course, hindi naman siya inassign as bishop. Pero of course, if we will say the first who spread Christianity in the Philippines, of course, si Fray Urdaneta. Okay? Don't be confused about that, no? Okay? Now, so what's the significance of this? Okay, so is this relevant? It is something na ano pa din ba ngayon? Of course, if you are a Catholic, this is very important, no? Rather if you are not, even you are not a Catholic, pwede pa rin kasi this is part of our history. Ganito pala nangyayari sa Pilipinas, no? Understanding the past somehow could help you to understand also the present. Will you agree with that? Of course, anyone would like to react about that? Understanding the past will somehow help you to understand the present. Any reaction about that? Oh, sa Filipino, no? Since we have Filipino major dito, ang pangunawa o pagkakaroon ng kaalaman sa nakalipas ay makakatulong ito para maintindihan ang hinaharap or ang kasalukuyan. Kasalukuyan pala, okay? Anong reaction nyo doon? Filipino major? Anyone? Wala? Okay. Are you still there naman? Nandiyan pa ba kayo? Anyone would like
Yes po, sir.
Okay, thank you for
Yes po, sir. Yes
Thank you.
po. Yes.
And narinig nyo naman siguro yung tinatanong ko, no?
po.
Okay, thank you.
Po.
Okay, well, a reaction about that? Okay, to continue. So the first order in the Filipinas were established. Pag sinabi natin order, hindi yung when we refer to the order, these are referring to what we call the organization of the priests, no, or what we call mga religious order. Rather, the religious order. So the first order in the Filipinas were established by Father Antonio Sedona and Alonso Sanchez. So yung unang-unang religious order, itinatag na, no? Or na-founded na siya. At ang founder nun ay si Father Antonio Sedeno at Father Alonso Sanchez. 1593, si Don Gonzalo Ronquillo as the second governor, di ba? Died due to his poor health and buried in the monastery of St. Augustine in Manila, katulad nung kay Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Okay, tingnan nyo, 3 years lang siya, no? Umabot lang siya ng 3 years. Pero ang pag-appoint sa kanya ay for life. But after 3 years, he died. because of its poor health. Siguro na-stress, no? Hindi madali yung utos ng hari ng Espanya, no? Okay? Ano ko lang yun? Opinion ko lang yun. Sino ba? So parang ano yun, no? If we may recall our previous discussion, no? Yung picture ko ay violated, na-violate ko yung parts of translation as regard to what we call yung modernization, no? Okay. Chapter 3 still, 1583, Jeco Ronquillo, kinsman of Don Rizal, succeeded and assumed the governorship and continued the pacification in the island. So pinalitan siya no ng kanyang kinsman no si kanang kamay no Diego Ronquillo. In 1583, so this is the first tragedy na nangyari no. 1583, a fire broke out in the city of Manila, which started at midday in the church of the convent of St. Augustine. A great loss of goods and property, and some persons were in danger. So probably yung pinaka ano parang in the history no, in the account of history yung pinaka grabing nangyari no na sakuna ay nung 1583 nasunog yung St. Augustine Church, same way with Manila Cathedral no. The city was rebuilt with great difficulty, labor, leaving the Spaniard very poor and needy. So naghirap din no in the time of Don Diego Ronquillo, 1583. The Royal Audiencia no in the city of Manila was ordered to established by Mariscal Gabriel de Rivera. So this is also the founding of the Royal Audiencia no. The Royal Audiencia somehow, kung ngayon meron tayong mga court no, mga ano ba tawag natin yung sa mga judge or court no, court of appeal or something. So noon meron tayong tinatawag na Royal Audiencia no. Dr. Santiago de Vera, Alcalde Audiencia of Mexico, assigned president of the Audiencia. Siya yung namuno na sa Royal Audiencia in Manila. And during that time, nag-aagawan yan. No? There's what we call, ano tawag natin dito? Agawan ng kapangyarihan no? Between the governor and the president of the Audiencia. So silang nag-aagawan sa kapangyarihan. Isama mo pa yung mga pari, no? Or what we call the religious order. But not all, no? Dr. Antonio de Rivera went as the third auditor of the Audiencia, no? Okay, yung picture na pinapakita ko, no, yan ang present ng St. Augustine Church sa Manila, no? Yan yung nakita ko lang yan sa internet. Pero ganyan talaga yung itsura ng St. Augustine Church. At nung pumunta kami doon, napakaganda, no? At matagal na yon. That was in 2014 ba or early 2012 no. Of course dati kasi may field trip nung hindi pa matraffic sa Manila. Okay, so chapter 4, this is referring to the fortress no. Yung nakikita yung picture yan, that is the one of the fortress in Fort Santiago no. 1584, month of May, the President and Auditor of Audiencia arrived in the Filipinas, si Diego Ronquillo. And Diego Ronquillo as the governor, no, nung time na yon. Sorry. The President of the Audiencia, Santiago de Vera, discovered the planned rebellion and insurrection among the native chiefs of Manila and Pampanga, no. As early 1584, the term Manila and Pampanga is already existing. That means hindi yung mga Kastila ang nagpangalan no sa lugar na yan, yung Manila at Pampanga. So nadat na nila na Manila yan, na Pampanga to. And as early 1584, yung mga Kapampangan no and even people in Manila are already attempting no. So, di ba tinatanong ko may nangyari bang revolusyon or pag-aaklas? Meron naman no. Kaya lang hindi naging successful. Okay? Of course, I will explain the reason later or some other time, no? And then, of course, one of the significant, something na very significant na nagawa ng mga Kastila in our country, yung Fortress of Nuestra Señora de Guia or the Fort of what we call Nuestra Señora de Guia na tinatawag na Baluarte de San Diego, no? Pero hindi yan ang kanyang translation pag sinabi natin Fort of Our Lady of Health no de Guia. Señora de Guia, it means Lady of Help, no? Or guidance. Port of Our Lady of Guidance, yun ang literal translation niya, no? Yung Potres de Nuestra Señora de Guia, na tinatawag ngayon na Baluarte de Santiago, kaya sabi na tinawag na Baluarte de San Diego because of the Governor General Diego Ronquillo. No, was built within the city of Manila on the land side. Pang protection yan, no? So, yan ang port, found dyan sa Port Santiago, no? Kung pupunta ka ng Port Santiago. And 1589, the Viceroy Don Luis de Velasco sailed in Nueva España, the New Spain, no? Yung kanina yan, no? On May 1590, si Gomez Perez Marinas, Corregidor of Leon and Murcia, was appointed Governor and Captain General of the Filipinas and Knight of the Order of Santiago. Pina-appoint naman si Governor Perez de Dasmariñas. So, Chapter 5. In 1590, Governor General Gomez Perez Dasmariñas administration, so nung time niya, no, ito yung mga accomplishment niya, underscore the following, no, or somehow ito yung mga parang mga layunin or something it's advocacy or something that he wanted to achieve, yung mga objective niya, no. First, yung submission of the Audiencia of Manila. Kasi nga nag-aagawan ng kapangyarihan between the Audiencia and the Governor. Establishing the paid garrison, so yun, one of its walling of the city, building of Cavalier, increase the trade in China, pacification of Zambales and the province of the Pintados, referring to the Visayas people, and building the artillery in Manila. As early as 1590, may mga platform na, no, yung mga Governor General. At ito yung parang kilala, no, kung si Adelantado, Miguel de Lopez de Legazpi, tinawag siyang Adelantado, si Governor General Gomez Perez Dasmariñas, siya naman yung tinawag na inspirer of them all. Inspiración de la todos, parang ganun, no? In Spanish, inspirer of them all. Okay? Or inspiration of all. Okay, bakit? Kasi nga, dahil sa magandang niya sa pamumuno niya, no? Okay, to continue, the Manila Wall and other fortification, part yan, no? The building of galleys, the regulation of trade, various pacification, the rebuilding of Manila, and the opening of negotiation with Japan. So, isa sa mga threat noong 1590, or rather, as early 1500s, no? One of the threat as regard to the colonialism or the governorship or the time of the Spaniard are the Japanese kasi nag-attempt din sila na i-conquer or colonize yung Pilipinas. Are all part of its administration kay Governor General Gomez Perez Dasmariñas and is considered as or remarked siya, no, or it was regarded as the spyware of them all. So kung si Adelantado, si Miguel Lopez Adelantado siya inspirer of them all. Dahil sa magandang platform niya, no? Okay? Continue. So we are still on chapter 5. During his administration, the relation and peace existing between Japanese and Spaniard of the Filipinas began to became strained, no? So ibig sabihin hindi maganda yung ugnayan ng Espanya or rather the Spaniard and the Japanese in the Philippines kasi may alitan na, no? Okay, so one of the significant, no, lord of the Zapon referring to Hapon, no, one of the very significant, no, na parang kinatatakutan na Japanese ay si Taiko Sama, no, Taiko Sama. Actually, yung Sama, it's referring to Lord, no, it's a Japanese term, Taiko yung pangalan niya. So Lord Taiko demanded the submission and tribute, no, kay and threatened the government of Gomez Perez Dasmariñas, no? So isa sa mga threat kay Gomez Perez Dasmariñas during its governorship in the Philippines ay si Taiko Sama, no? 1593, the Governor General Gomez Perez Dasmariñas planned to pacify the province of Pintados due to his tragic death, kaya lang hindi siya naging successful, napatay siya. He was killed by the Chinese rovers who coveted their money, jewels, and other articles of value. So, nung time na yon, no, na-trick sila. Kasi nga, yung mga Chinese, during the Spanish time, they belong to the lower class. Sila yung mga alipin, ganyan-ganyan. So, pero matalino din sila, no? Nagpanggap na alitin sila. So, na kay Gomez Perez. Pero nung pagsapit ng gabi, nung natutulog na lahat, they were attacked, no? Kaya namatay si Perez Dasmariñas, no? 1593, same year prior to the death of Governor Dasmariñas, a great fleet led by its son, no, si Luis Perez Dasmariñas, was sent in the island of the Pintados. And 1593, in the death of Governor Perez, Pedro de Rojas, Lieutenant Successor, was chosen governor ad interim for 40 days kasi nagluluksa yung anak niya kaya hindi siya pwedeng mag-assume as the governor to give way on kaya 40 days yan no kung in our history kung titingnan natin the shortest term no yung pinakakaunting naging governor general sa Pilipinas ay si Pedro Rojas kasi ano siya no governor interim lang siya to give way only for the mourning and yes for the mourning and lamentation of Luis Perez Dasmariñas. Okay? Now, before I continue no sorry if I will end muna my discussion for this. I would like to clarify if you have any concern or questions. Meron ba? Okay, I will stop the recording muna. Okay? And then